If you grew up riding trains, you probably remember the sound, a steady rhythm under the wheels. Ta-tak, ta-tak, ta-tak. It came from the joins between rail sections, each one announcing itself as the wheel passed over. If you have ridden a modern high-speed train recently, that sound is gone. The ride is smooth, almost silent at rail level. Something changed in the track beneath the train, and most passengers never think about what it was. The obvious replacement for gapped rail is continuous welded rail, sections joined end to end into an unbroken line. But steel expands in heat. That is not a theory, it is a physical certainty. A rail sitting in summer sun gets longer. If it cannot get longer, something else has to happen. So what does happen? And why does a track that seems to ignore thermal expansion not simply buckle in the heat? Let's get into it right here on Small Things. The gap that used to be everywhere. For most of railway history, tracks were built from separate rail sections roughly 12 meters long, bolted together with a deliberate gap of a few millimeters between each end. Continuous welded rail replaces this with something simpler and more demanding, sections fused into one unbroken line, sometimes running for kilometers without a join. There are no gaps for the rail to grow into. When temperature rises and the steel wants to expand, it cannot lengthen. When temperature drops, it cannot shorten. The ta-tak sound that defined railway travel for a century was the acoustic consequence of those joins. Its disappearance signals a fundamental change in how thermal expansion is handled, not by giving the rail room to move, but by not giving it room at all. Why nobody wanted to remove the gaps. For decades after thermite welding was invented, the idea of joining railway rails permanently was considered obviously dangerous. The numbers were not reassuring. A temperature increase of 40 degrees Celsius causes a 12-meter rail to expand by about 6 millimeters. That is a small number for one section. Multiply it across kilometers of connected track, and engineers envisioned forces large enough to push rails sideways off their sleepers. The longer the continuous rail, the larger the compressive force it would develop in summer heat. An infinite rail, in this logic, was an infinite problem. The resistance from railway managers was total. When Hans Goldschmidt developed thermite welding in the late 19th century as a way to join rail sections with molten steel, the reaction from the industry was dismissal. Gaps were not a flaw to be fixed. They were considered essential to safe operation. Goldschmidt was essentially proposing that railroads remove the one safety mechanism they had for managing the force they feared most. The first cracks in this consensus came not from mainline railways but from tram systems in cities. Trams operated on lighter, smaller profile rail embedded in street surfaces. The forces involved were more modest. The nuisance of the ta-tak sound in the middle of a city was more pressing. Essen became one of the early cities to experiment with eliminating rail gaps, and the results there and in other cities were encouraging enough to shift the conversation. What gradually convinced mainline railways was not that thermal expansion had been solved, it was that expansion could be managed differently. Instead of leaving room for the rail to grow, engineers found they could restrain it and let the expansion turn into internal stress. As long as that stress stayed within limits the rail could bear, the track would hold. That reframing took time and evidence. Decades of tram operation without catastrophic buckling, combined with careful measurement of forces in restrained rail under real temperature conditions, built a case the skeptics could not easily dismiss. The adoption was gradual and varied by country and line type. But by the mid-20th century, continuous welded rail had become standard practice on many of the world's railways, and jointed track was increasingly seen as the legacy approach rather than the safe one. The gap was not eliminated, the problem was redesigned. How you hold steel, still without gaps. A rail in summer sun is like a metal ruler that wants to grow longer. If both ends are free, it grows. If both ends are held firmly in place, it cannot grow. So instead, pressure builds up inside the metal. The rail pushes against its own restraints, and that pushing force is what engineers call compressive stress. In a continuous welded rail track, the sleepers and ballast do the holding. Sleepers are the concrete or wooden beams the rails sit on, fixed to the rail by metal clips. Ballast is the crushed stone bed the sleepers rest in. Together they grip the rail with enough friction and weight that when the rail tries to expand sideways or lengthen, it cannot. The expansion that would have become visible movement instead becomes invisible stress inside the metal. This works because steel behaves elastically within certain limits. Compress it moderately and it pushes back but holds its shape. Release the compression and it returns to its original dimensions. The rail is not permanently deformed. It is simply under load, the way a compressed spring is under load, and it will stay under load for as long as the temperature stays above the neutral temperature. The key to managing this safely is something called the neutral temperature. When a continuous rail is installed or when its stress is adjusted, engineers choose a target temperature at which the rail should be neither in compression nor in tension. In practice, this is usually set somewhat above the average annual temperature for that location, because the consequences of too much compression in summer are worse than too much tension in winter. When the temperature drops below the neutral temperature, the rail wants to contract but cannot. It is pulled into tension. When the temperature rises above it, the rail wants to expand but cannot. It is pushed into compression. The rail is always in one state or the other. The neutral temperature is the balance point designed to keep both states within safe limits across the full temperature range the track will experience over its service life. The stress did not go anywhere. The most common assumption about continuous welded rail is that removing the gap solved the thermal expansion problem. It did not. It is just invisible now, locked inside the metal rather than visible as a gap at every join. On a hot summer day, the rail inside a continuous welded track is under compressive stress large enough to be measurable. On a cold winter night, it is under tension. Neither state is absent. Both are being managed. This matters because managed does not mean guaranteed. When the ballast is disturbed by maintenance work or flooding, it loses some of its grip on the sleepers. When a heat wave pushes temperatures beyond what the track was designed for, the compressive stress exceeds the system's capacity to contain it. When the neutral temperature was set incorrectly during installation, the rail starts every season in the wrong state. In all these cases, the stress that was being held internally finds a way out, and the result is the same as it always was. The rail moves sideways. Buckling still happens on modern railways. It is rarer because the engineering controlling the stress is now deliberate and precise rather than absent, but it is not impossible, and after any significant disturbance to the track bed, engineers must verify the rail's stress state before trains run again. The smooth ride does not mean the fight is over. It means the fight is being won for now. Liquid steel and a smoother ride. Today, you will find two things that make continuous welded rail possible at the practical level. The first is thermite welding, the process used to join two separate rail sections into one in the field. A small gap is cut between the rail ends. A mold is clamped around the gap. A mixture of aluminum powder and iron oxide is ignited in a crucible above the mold. The reaction produces molten steel at temperatures exceeding 2000 degrees Celsius, which pours down into the gap and fuses with the rail ends on either side. When it cools and the mold is removed, what were two separate rails are now one continuous piece. The join is ground smooth until it is indistinguishable from the surrounding rail. A train wheel passing over it feels nothing. This is what erased the TATAC. Around 2 million such welds are performed every year worldwide, creating roughly 50 kilometers of new continuous rail annually from molten steel poured directly on the track bed. The second is what continuous welded rail makes possible for the journey itself. Because there are no regular gaps, there are no regular impacts. Wheel wear drops significantly. Track maintenance intervals lengthen. Trains can run faster without the vibration that jointed track would transmit through the carriage at speed. The passengers experience this as smoothness and quiet, without any awareness of the compressive stress being managed invisibly in the rail beneath them. Everything downstream from a smoother, quieter, faster ride traces back to the decision to hold the rail still and let the stress be internal. Not eliminated, controlled. So why don't train tracks have gaps anymore? And why doesn't continuous welded rail buckle in summer? Think about that train window again. The rhythm that used to measure every journey. Ta-talk, ta-talk, ta-talk. Modern train tracks do not ignore thermal expansion, they control it. The rails still want to expand and contract, but instead of leaving open gaps everywhere, engineers lock the rails in place with sleepers, ballast, and a carefully chosen neutral temperature. The result is smoother, quieter, faster railway, not because the steel stopped moving, but because its movement was turned into controlled internal stress. The smooth ride is not simple. It is a controlled fight against heat, happening invisibly in the metal beneath every journey. If this changed the way you think about the next train ride you take, let us know in the comments what you want us to explore next. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.